You're listening to The Pulse on AMI Audio. I'm Grant Hardy. Mayday Club empowers neurodivergent youth by offering skills building, leadership, and travel opportunities through some youth-led projects. And in doing so, they hope to create a more inclusive and equitable future for neurodiverse individuals. Today, we're chatting with Nicole Provost, founder of Mayday Club Choir, to speak about the organization and how their Mayday Club Choir empowers youth with autism through song and performance. Nicole, welcome to The Pulse. Really excited to be chatting with you today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to be here.
Tell us more about the Mayday Club Youth Choir.
So, the youth choir, I started the choir back in, I think it was 2016 now. So, almost 10 years. And I
Right.
started it as a way to kind of help neurodivergent youth in my area, which is the Fraser Valley, to find connection because there's not a ton of opportunities for young people of any neurotype to connect these days. And so I just noticed that isolation and mental health were some really big issues that neurodivergent youth in my area were facing. And I was around 20 at the time, so I was pretty young. And I didn't really have any organizational experience, so it was kind of like a passion project. Like a learning journey, but it has grown significantly in the past decade. It's grown a lot. And we have youth. Like initially, it was supposed to be aimed at youth who are on the autism spectrum, but now it's been open to we have just got the most amazing and diverse team of like young people of all neurotypes just coming together to like make music and have a good time together. We also perform at like community events. Since COVID, our number of performances has gone down a bit, but
Mhm.
we perform at community events for free as part of our charitable mandate to raise awareness for the importance of inclusion because lots of people who don't have experience with neurodivergent or disabled people get their info from like school, so they grew up alongside people who would be in like segregated educational classes, and this might be their only exposure to people who are different than them. So we decided to like make a choir where we would actually showcase these people. We put them in the spotlight, and youth could stand up and actually tell their story. So there's lots of chances for youth to actually get out there and tell the world like what they want the world to know about inclusion and about themselves. And so I hope that the choir is actually also a pretty cool educational tool in addition to getting like youth connected to others and stuff.
Yeah, so really like changing public perception is something really key that I picked up on from what you've said. How do you find, do you have some cool stories about the impact on, maybe just the public's perception changing as a result of media appearances, performances, the impact of that outreach that you're doing?
I've noticed because we're based in Abbotsford. So I've
Mhm.
noticed that in the past almost 10 years, the conversation in Abbotsford around human diversity has changed a lot.
Mhm.
When I first started, um, there's like a community council of like organizations that work with neurodivergent and disabled youth, and the council, they were using kind of outdated terminology, and I don't know if we had anything to do with this or if it was just changing naturally, because I do feel like the conversation around this is changing naturally.
Yeah.
So we may or may not have had anything to do with it, but I've noticed that the terminology that they've used has gotten a lot more respectful and empowering to the people that they serve and the youth that they represent. And there's just been so many more like community organizations popping up that are either neurodivergent youth run or that serve neurodivergent youth or disabled youth. And it's just been really cool to kind of see that shift. And another thing that I noticed is that the word neurodiversity is getting used a lot more these days. And back when I started, I first heard this word at my school that I was attending at the time, which was UBC.
Mhm.
And I just thought, that's a cool word. I've never heard it before. And so we named ourselves Mayday Club Youth Choir for Neurodiversity. And so in a way, maybe we kind of helped bring this because in Abbotsford we're not completely cut off from what's going on in Vancouver and
Totally.
in bigger cities, but um, we definitely don't have the same amount of resources and like advocates in our area, and so yeah, I've just noticed a lot of forward momentum in my community, and I'm really proud of the community as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. I think these grassroots community organizations and initiatives are really part of that difference that we're finally starting to see in terms of the discussion with the that's happening with the general public, that knowledge expanding. So this is a very grassroots organization. Can you talk about, some of your early moments? Like, what was it like starting the choir and finding yourself as the director, the coordinator? What was that like for you?
Yeah, so initially when I started it, I did not want to actually be the one in charge because I've really got no musical background at all. And I also hadn't had any experience like working with youth whatsoever, even though I kind of was young at the time. So I tried very hard to find somebody to conduct the choir for me. I just wanted the organization to exist. I didn't want to lead it. Maybe from like an admin point of view would have been cool, but not from
Mhm.
like an actual hands-on point of view. So I started the organization by like making a website, filling out an application to be like a provincially registered group. And I actually had a bunch of like people from my work and a bunch of people that I knew from the community like help me out significantly at the time, like my sister and stuff. And lots
Mhm.
of these people did remain involved. But it was kind of a big commitment, and we didn't have any money whatsoever at the time, so we couldn't pay people and everything. And yeah, one day, like the time was ticking down till our first practice, and then I guess I just realized at some point, like, uh-oh, I think I might have to like, conduct this choir. So I just Googled how to conduct a choir, and then I was like, oh, okay. And then I just went and did it, and it turns out that it was actually a pretty good thing because, in a way, my lack of professional like experience with choir conducting, I feel like has made me more like I kind of learned from the group that I was working with. So I learned what worked for them, and we're not a typical choir, so
Mhm.
we've got lots of people that might not be able to stand for a whole practice. Some people need to like leave the room. Some youth only like certain songs, so they stay for certain songs. And my expectations of them are that they're going to show up and that they're going to do their best that they can do in any given moment. I don't expect them to like be what I would get from a typical choir. So in a way, my lack of experience has kind of shaped me into being a good director to them, I think. So yeah.
Think so too. I think you put a lot of work into it. You're obviously very warm and engaging, inclusive. I think I can absolutely see that that would be a fantastic fit. And I just wanted to ask you about the atmosphere of the choir practices. Can you tell me what people experience when they show up for practice? What's the atmosphere?
Yeah. Thank you for saying those nice things. But so we practice currently out of the Abbotsford Flying Club at the airport. So we've got lots of like airplanes around us, which is odd and cool.
That is very
But
cool.
we've got kind of a group of like teens and young adults who just show up, and everybody in the group somehow we just got the coolest group. Everybody greets the person when they walk through the door. And the practices are super upbeat. At times, it kind of feels more like a karaoke party than like a an actual choir practice. We play some games. We kind of like we sing songs. We share like we either share a snack or a meal together every practice because I feel like sharing food together, even if it's just something small, is a nice way for people to like kind of break down barriers and
Mhm.
get through like some anxiety that you might be having and stuff. And they're just extremely energetic, extremely upbeat. Like I've seen people come through the doors for their first practice. They're super nervous and they don't really know what to expect, but everybody just kind of like lets loose, and people are standing where they want in their room, and they're kind of in their own little world. And I see people like putting their hands up and like singing like nobody's watching, and I'm just like, man, it's just so cool to like be part of a community where people can just come and let go and be themselves. And no matter where they come from, nobody's looking at anybody, nobody's judging anybody. And just, yeah, the youth in this program are just really freaking cool youth.
What are some of those changes? I know you've mentioned a little bit just attending practice really gets people excited and takes away some of that anxiety that they might have initially been feeling. But like, what are the changes that you see in people after they've been in the choir for a few months, few seasons, whatever it is? What effect do you see on people's confidence?
Like I've seen people whose confidence has just skyrocketed. Like there's one girl who's been in our program for almost the whole time, and
Mhm.
she came in and she was like really young, like a little kid, and she actually gained her volunteer hours for high school through Mayday, and she's kind of become like a leader in the choir, which is really cool to see. And I took like a leave to go to, I was in Europe studying for a little bit, and she
Mhm.
actually took over, like, she was one of the people who took over conducting the choir for me. So it was really cool over the years to see her gain this confidence. And I've also seen like young people who were too nervous, because we usually do like a little team meeting, like a little check in at the beginning of the
Mhm.
practice just to kind of break the ice a bit. And I've seen people who were too nervous to talk in these meetings, just from anxiety and past experiences that they've had, to being able to get up and tell their story in front of like an audience, whether it's in like a pub or at a community fair and stuff, just talking in front of hundreds of people, telling their story about like what's important to them. And yeah, it's very cool.
How does that make you feel seeing the changes in confidence that take place as people uh, remain in the choir?
It's honestly really cool. It's just magical to see the changes that take place, and like it's really cool to get to be part of it. When Mayday first started, I feel like I was kind of like the driving force behind it, but now it's totally a community project, and we've got a great team of volunteers, and like just the amount of people that put an effort to this to make it possible for the youth to like grow so much is just like, I'm just so proud of our team, and I'm so happy, and I'm so excited to see what's going to happen in the future for them.
And you also have employment opportunities for summer students with disabilities, I believe. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we try our best to get grants, and whenever we can. Something that's important to me is employing like neurodivergent youth, because like I don't even need to say this, but like obviously there's a significant lack of employment for the neurodivergent and
Mhm.
disabled community. And so something that's important to me is giving youth paid opportunities whenever I can. Um, so yeah, we do whenever we get grants, or if we have an extra amount of funding and we need a job done, I usually turn to the group and say, is anybody available to do this job? And then this year we did apply for the Canada Summer Jobs grant to employ some students this summer, and the recipients haven't been announced yet, but we have gotten it in the past. So we've employed youth to do like animation projects, make videos for us, music videos. We've employed them to actually come and like video the choir. And like it's pretty flexible for whatever they want to bring to the table. We've also included some youth like in admin work, like website stuff. I've taught them how to use WordPress and do like search engine optimization, and like voice coaching. So we've had some
Mhm.
neurodivergent youth come in and like kind of be peers, voice coaching each other. And some of those students have actually gone on to like study music at like Capilano University and stuff. And it's just pretty cool to be.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Thank
What's the
you.
What's the process like of publishing material, videos on YouTube, songs on Spotify? What sort of process do you go through in order to do that? And how cool is it to have material up online that people can access?
It's very cool to have material out online.
Mhm.
And it's honestly just so exciting. We published our third album this past spring, which we recorded with the help of our producer, dude, Vince Renault, who has a nephew in the choir, and he actually is like a professional sound recorder in Vancouver. And so we got a grant through the Tell Us Friendly Future Foundation and the BC Arts Council, and they fully funded the project for us to record. I believe it was an 8-song album where each person who wanted a solo from the choir got one, and we kind of worked with them to find out where the solo would be and what it would look like. So they went into Vince's home studio and recorded their solos with him. And then we actually went into the warehouse studio in Vancouver where Brian Adams records all of his materials. And that was just a super fun day. And we yeah, we were there from about 10 a.m. to like 5 p.m. So it was a long day. And then yeah, Vince was the one who like mixed all of our music, and I got to go in and hear like the final tracks. Oh, and we also have like a piano player who's visually impaired, and she plays all of our about half of our backtracks for the album just by hearing. She's very musically
Mhm.
gifted, so she actually laid down the backtracks using just a piano, and then Vince was able to like mix them into a bunch of different instruments, which was very cool. So the process was done like a lot of neurodivergent disabled people like inputted into this project, and we had a team of youth a team of neurodivergent youth who it was our like creative team where we kind of came up with like an album name and just like some creative choices for the album. And yeah, when I heard the first like Vince had me back to a studio to hear like the first like rough cut of it, and it was just so cool to hear people's voices. One of the songs is Born This Way by Lady Gaga, and
Mhm.
on this one, we've actually got solos from, I believe it's like 10 to 12 people, and people's voices just sound so different and unique, and people's ways of talking or singing are just very apparent in this song. And like, I think it's just a perfect representation for how it all came together. And yeah, then we published it on Spotify. We violated some copyright laws and got like, and then we had to like change a bunch of stuff, which was
Oh
also
no.
like kind of cool to learn about, but a little bit like frustrating. But we eventually published it on Spotify, and it was like pretty exciting to watch like the number of listens go up and everything.
Copyright law makes my head spin just thinking about that. So people can find. I'm sure on your website you'll have links to your YouTube, Spotify, etc., and people can check that out.
Yes.
Brilliant. So we've talked about employment barriers with the disability community, but obviously many people with disabilities can relate to those feelings of social isolation and even bullying, especially youth. How would you say Mayday Club can help youth with autism overcome that kind of trauma of social isolation?
So, social isolation in neurodivergent people, and even in, I'm using quotes, neurotypical people,
Hmm.
is something that is just very relevant to today's youth that might not have been relevant to previous generations. And it can honestly be traumatizing because of how deep this isolation can be. Um, so for me, just having somewhere to for youth where they can just go and be known by name and even just like greeted with a hug can make the difference in a person's life. Just if somebody's there to show you kindness, if somebody's reliably there, and if you've got a group that you can actually like travel to different cities with, and wear a matching uniform with and stand on stage with, even if you don't like talk to those people socially outside of choir, just being part of something and knowing that you belong is just, it's something that's super powerful to people. So what we do is, yeah, we just provide this space, and yeah, I'm genuinely happy to see each person when they come through the door, because like they're committing to my choir, they're doing me a service by singing in my choir, and like I'm thankful to them for showing up, and they are held to, I'd say, a standard of showing up when they can.
Hmm.
And I feel like they're held to a standard of coming, knowing the songs, and just I feel like they get a sense of accomplishment. And by kind of pushing themselves to be the best that they can be, they also feel like they're giving their team what the best that they can give, and they know that they're being given the best that they can give from the people around them. And just being part of this environment can just really make a night and day difference in somebody's life. And another thing that doesn't really get talked about that much is that I guess neurodivergent like individuals of all genders are more like prone to just either abuse or getting into like relationship situations where they might not be treated the best. And part of this is because of the isolation.
Hmm.
So I really try and let them know what it feels like to be fully appreciated. If the audience is giving them a standing ovation, I usually point it out. I'm like, look, these people, they're proud of you. They're saying that you've done a good job, because for lots of people, they might not know what truly being accepted feels like, and this could get them into some potentially dangerous situations where they feel like they're being accepted or manipulated. Because yeah, there's a lot to unpack, and I don't want to turn
Yeah.
this into a different conversation, but I just try my best to point out to them like, you are accepted here, this is what acceptance feels like, and just like try to like get this into them from a young age. And yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I think, people assume, especially with youth, isolation, loneliness, it's just one of those things, you'll just hopefully, you just have to kind of push through it. But like in reality, absolutely, it can not only be devastating and just feel lonely, but also can be dangerous. So having
Yes.
something where you are a part of a team, a group, is so important, like for everybody, even neurotypical and non-disabled people, but especially those who are maybe a little more vulnerable. Really excellent point. Want to get into some other important things here. One of them is your talent show. You're going to be holding a talent show on Sunday, April 27th. Have you held this type of show in the past? And can you tell me a little bit about what attendees can expect?
Yes, this is our fourth annual talent show. It was interrupted by COVID for a couple of years, but it's our
Mhm.
fourth. And it's just a night where people who are either from the choir or just from the community, it's just open to everybody. We've actually had people like come out from Vancouver Island to be part of it. Um, so it's a place where people can just come and showcase their talents. Like we started the talent show a few years back. It was initially for Autism Awareness Month, because it's like I wanted to think of a way to like um, raise awareness, but without being like, oh, look at these poor people. How can you help these people? Because that's really not the conversation that I want to be part of, and that's not
Mhm.
something that I believe in. And now it's grown obviously to way more than just autism awareness. To me, it's like a neurodiversity celebration, and that's what it says on our website, where um, people can just come in, and we've actually got some very, very fantastically talented people. So you're not going to be watching a show where people just come in and do whatever, but we've got some very musically gifted individuals, people reciting poetry by heart. Like we've had people play instruments, people recite pi. We've had people do rhythmic gymnastics, and it's just a very, very fun, positive environment to be part of, whether you know somebody in the show or not. So it's free for community members of all neurotypes to perform in, all neurotypes, all ages. And if you want to come and watch, it's $10 or whatever you could pay to come in, and yeah, it'll just be a couple hours of just fun.
Well, that's really cool. Definitely would hope to check that out.
Thank
Um,
you.
what are your dreams for the Mayday Club? In the future, just looking back at how far the organization has come, where do you hope to be in the future?
In the future, I would really hope for more neurodivergent youth to kind of step up into leadership roles in the organization. And I've really honestly seen this in the past year because, like I mentioned, I was gone for a good part of this year, and there were a lot of youth who actually stepped up and exceeded my expectations on them. So I'm really hoping to empower more neurodivergent youth to kind of lead their own projects under the Mayday umbrella. I've actually got like a member of the choir who is starting their own little club this week. Actually, it's like a board game club for neurodivergent and neurotypical people who are interested in making friends and board gaming. So seeing more youth step up and kind of start their own projects through Mayday would be really cool. One day when I'm too old or too busy or something to lead the choir anymore, I'd love to see more youth kind of make choices on the songs choir sings, like take bookings, lead the choir and stuff. So I would love for Mayday to continue on into the future and have more initiatives in the community, um, release more music, and just continue to grow and empower neurodivergent youth across Fraser Valley and maybe even across Canada one day.
All right, brilliant. And I think we have a couple minutes left. So, can you tell me a little bit about Amplify, a 16-week program that I believe is commencing this fall?
Yes,
Sorry, what? I'm just getting a time cue. What's our time cue? Sorry, 1 minute.
I can talk fast.
Okay.
Amplify is going to be a project that takes youth through the concepts of radio broadcasting and voice acting. So each youth is going to be responsible for making one episode of a show on civil radio, and the project is funded by Disability Alliance BC. And it'll get hopefully a lot of youth who are interested in doing more like radio work and voice work to um, into those fields, and they're going to be kind of connected with voiceover agents in Vancouver and stuff through the program. So it's going to be very exciting, and we're doing it again with help of our producer dude Vince Renault. And yeah, I'm very excited for it this fall.
It's incredibly cool, and there is so much more we could talk about, but we are out of time for today. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us on The Pulse.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks again to Nicole Provost for joining us today. The Pulse airs on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on AMI Audio. You can also catch the show on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Grant Hardy. Thanks so much for listening.